Welcome to another Bancroft Brothers animation podcast.
I will start off by talking about our good friend, Stuart Ng Books. StuartNGBooks.com is the place to go for all your book supply needs. And I'm not talking about books to fill with artwork. I'm talking about books that are filled with wonderful inspirational artwork, because Stuart goes all over the world looking for the best sketchbooks, resource materials, art of books. And he gets them signed by the artists that you know and love, because you follow them all on Instagram and social media. And they're the ones that inspire you to be better. I know I'm inspired to be better, Tom, by those StuartNGBooks.com books. And Stuart has a brick and mortar shop. He does in Torrance, right by the airport. So fly in, now that things are opening up with COVID, come on down to LA, fly in, and you can just check out Stuart Ng Books. It's right off the freeway in Torrance. Or if you can't fly in, go to the online. Go online, do it, StuartNGBooks.com. Thank you, Stuart.
Tony, how you doing?
Doing really good, Tom. For those that don't know, this is an animation podcast put on by two twin brothers that happen to have the same last name. Well, that's probably the twin brother part. But we're also animation vets, been in the animation industry for a combined 60 years, Tom. Holy cow, doesn't that age us? But we're young and vital and still working in the animation industry. And we love to
and gorgeous.
And we're gorgeous. And
gorgeous.
We love, and we're twins, so we're both gorgeous. But we love to talk about animation, our passion, the future of animation, the current of animation, and even the past of animation with our many guests that we have on the show. So welcome, dear listener, to the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast.
We love all five of you and how devoted you are, and you keep coming back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I do want to throw out, we do have a Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com and then search Bancroft Brothers, please support us there if you'd like. We even have like a one-on-one time with our Patreons, the upper tier group, where we spend an hour with you, just kind of looking in the Zoom camera. We don't say anything. We just kind of stare. It's worth that price tag.
It's really great. I love it.
And so
it's very inspiring.
We have that, but we also would love to have you go on and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. That's kind of where those seem to get stored. That's the best place to do it. We are also on Spotify and all those things.
iHeartRadio, yeah.
iHeartRadio rocks us hard all the time.
I know.
Us and the Beeb. Come on.
The Beebster. And
yeah.
Hey, Tom, I was thinking about a guy that we've had on the podcast for a while, a couple times actually now, Glenn Keane. And I heard a little rumor, a little birdie told me you had a connection with him the other day. What happened?
I did. So, we haven't talked to Glenn in a while because of that COVID deal.
Right.
And so I was in a meeting yesterday. I teach at Lipscomb University. And we're planning this new animation festival that we want to make an annual thing. And right now we're calling it Animation South or something like that. And it's going to be like a weekend thing where we bring in recruiters from all the different studios to look at our students, maybe other students too. We might have SCAD students come and make it kind of a open thing to all of the South, or, the good schools,
the good schools
like
in the South.
Us and Lipscomb.
Okay.
And SCAD. Okay. And then, but we were like, okay, we're going to have speakers and panels, look at portfolios. We're going to have like a whole thing and a breakfast thing with the pros, and we're going to bring in multiple people. There's talk of you coming, Tony. I just want you to know.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We might do like a live podcast.
I'm pretty
something
expensive.
Like that.
Yeah.
But then they threw down, all right, we need a keynote speaker. And this is our first one.
Oh, is this me? Is this where I came in?
Really establish, put a pin in that. Well, no, but to really establish this as this thing that everybody's going to hear about, they said, who is the biggest name that you can think of? I said,
Tony
Glenn
Bancroft.
Keane. Nice try. Glenn Keane. And they were like, who? And I said, out of my way. I don't want to see you ever again. This is Glenn Keane. He's the man. And so I said, Glenn, and just to prove the point and it look extra cool, I'm like, okay, continue with the meeting. I'm just going to write a little email right now as we're talking, see if we can nail him down.
Oh, look at you, all cocky.
Yeah, nail it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I send it out, and sure enough, we go on with the meeting and stuff about locations and other people and stuff like that. That was when your name came up. We needed janitorial services.
Oh,
and so
I'm pretty good in the cafeteria too.
And then catering. And then so I checked my email a little bit later, and sure enough, he replied almost immediately. It was awesome. That never happens, right?
Well, how often do you hear from Glenn Keane just like that?
I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Let's hold up. I just got my reply from Glenn. So, and it said no. And I had to say that in front of the whole meeting and shut down the meeting, basically. And he had a great reason, Tony.
He's incredibly busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredibly busy was basically what he said, but he said it I have about multiple projects and they're all going to be due right around that time in March. This is for March of 2022. So he's already got it all planned out and he's not going to be able to be available. And he threw out a great name as a replacement. It was not Tony Bancroft. For our listeners, let me know who your number 2 is.
And where we sit right now, Tom, yesterday, I think, the Emmy Award nominations went out. And this might be one of the reasons he's busy, is that Glenn Keane and his son created a show for Netflix called Trash Truck.
Max Keane. That's Max
Keane.
Yep.
They created a show called Trash Truck. And Trash Truck is a pre-case offering on Netflix
show.
And it got nominated for 2 Emmy Awards. So congratulations to Glenn and Max and the whole Keane family.
Yay. All right. So also on my list of people to invite as of today is our wonderful interview for tonight. So I'm going to back this up and just say that us 3 people that are on this interview right now, we've all worked on Space Jam: A New Legacy. This is our very special podcast about that new film, Space Jam.
And this should be releasing on the day that Space Jam is released. So I hope people are going to see it today. Go to the movie theaters. If you got HBO Max, you could see it there too. Heck, we kind of wanted to make a lot of money, so go see it in the theater and then go home and rewatch it, and you get all the details on HBO Max, right?
Tonight, we are honored to have with us the animation director and production designer
2 in 1
we'll get to that in a second. It's amazing. Of Space Jam: A New Legacy. This is Devin Crane.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
You know it, man.
I'm very excited.
This is awesome to have you.
Glad to be here.
We're excited.
I mean, how many times do we have a multi-hyphenate on the Bancroft Brothers? And we actually have one just for one movie. So yeah.
And we didn't even bring in dancer. That's the third thing.
Dash choreographer.
Only after hours.
That's right. And you taught LeBron James all of his moves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You beat me every time.
Not the dance. Basketball. You didn't. Now, okay. Let's just say it real quick. Get it out of the way. Did you get to know LeBron?
I did a little bit. Yeah. He's super, just amazing guy. You know, he's everything you would want him to be. Like really sweet, super funny, but like really engaging guy.
Okay, so we're going to get into your past a little bit, and there's some amazing stories to be told, but I want this to be about Space Jam as much as possible. So
let's start at the beginning of how you got this gig, because where I sit right now, I'm looking at your IMDb page, which, by the way, does not even mention Space Jam: Legacy.
Oh, IMDb,
which is horrible. But you started out largely as a character designer, doing tons of character designs for all kinds of studios, including DreamWorks. You worked on Kung Fu Panda. You worked on Kung Fu Panda 2. You were on Megamind. You were on Turbo.
Dragons.
You were on the Proud Family. How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, and going back all the way to the Iron Giant.
Yeah,
Holy cow!
That's where it started.
I love the Iron Giant.
That's where it started.
Yep.
And animated on it.
I did.
Correct?
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 18 years old.
Smallfoot.
Yep.
You did, Megamind we mentioned already. Monsters vs. Aliens, character design on that. B movie. So you did a lot,
Tony,
for DreamWorks.
I have a little trivia here that I'm going to throw in because this works right into where we're talking about, which is his bio and the things he's done.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? And please tell this story. You were mentored by the legendary Imagineer John Hench at age 17.
I actually was.
At Disney Imagineering.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Bazinga.
got to work on a Disney attraction at that age. And then shut that down and said, I'm going to go to CalArts. Wait, what? And then and while he was at CalArts, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when you were working on Iron Giant.
Yeah.
You were still a student.
I was still a student, yeah, because Iron Giant happened the summer after my sophomore year and Imagineering was it was a summer between CalArts and high school. So I was just about to go to CalArts, and I worked through all summer.
Okay. Amazing. So this is even bigger than the whole animation director and production designer at the same time.
But it makes sense.
How did this happen?
So
how did you get in with John?
In the Ryman program, I was in high school, which was an art program, which was it was sponsored with Marty Sklar and Imagineering and Disney, and it was a high school program that kind of taught that every Saturday was super hard, and it was professors that were teaching almost at a college level. And they whipped us into shape, So like, and we had, it was 3 semesters of it. It was, it was basic drawing. It was watercolor, and the last one was painting. And I mean, it was hard. It was just like boot camp, like you went in there as a high school student, and they didn't treat you like that. So I think it got us all thinking almost in a real perspective, like, okay, I gotta, this is a wrong way to draw it. This is the right way to draw something. And there was no middle.
Like a Juilliard program.
It was.
Or something like that.
I mean, it was. And it just kind of, it prepared me for so much. And I just think those teachers, Barbara Thompson was our intro drawing teacher. Barbara was so hard and so amazing and patient. But like, she definitely, she wanted us to get good, and Marty Sklar, who was kind of the benefactor of the program, he was like Imagineering. After I finished the program, which was my last year of high school, he talked to my parents. I got a little bit of that kind of graduation ceremony, and he asked them if he could hire me. And he asked me to step away. So I didn't know what they were even talking about. And I was like, what's he talking to my mom and dad about? And I could see my dad, kind of very protective, like shaking his head. And my mom was kind of, taking it in. And then afterwards, he came over and he hugged me. He goes, so I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks. And I was like, okay, I wonder what's going on. And then I talked to my parents, and they were like, we just offered you a job for the summer. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? I was so excited. Gosh. And I mean, it was an internship, and I was working there. And, the first day showed up like super excited. I'm like, what do I do? Where do I start? And they had me the original that I was hanging out at the Defense Archive, where they had stored all the artwork for all the theme parks that had ever been designed. All the old Pirates of the Caribbean sketches and John Hench designs and Herb Ryman stuff. So I was kind of helping them and kind of learning like how it all worked when they were trying to figure out.
And like touching it all.
Yeah, I was nerding out because they were all just original stacked in these warehouses. So you just were like, you walk into this massive like monolithic room that was all like just air temperature controlled, but not like
basically
like the
this
ARL,
is when
not as good as the ARL.
This is back when they didn't take good care.
Yeah, everything was just stacked. It was just stacked. Yeah. So like I was just sitting there on the floor, just like flipping, like looking at all these Mark Davis drawings, and you could just spread them out to like playing cards, and you could smell the cigarette smoke from it was still like in there. Those Chesterfields were still kind of happening.
Oh, man.
And then, I was just super ambitious because I was there. I was like, well, can I help out with some attractions? Do you guys want me to draw anything? So Marty had a thought because I didn't know protocol. It was a very loose idea as to what I was going to be doing. They just wanted me to be around to kind of see how the place worked. And then
you're like, I've got a really great idea, John. Let me just pitch this to you. Okay. There's a donkey, and you go by in a barrel, and he kicks you into the space. It's called the donkey kick to space.
Yeah.
And you're like, mic drop, I'm out.
Done. I was done. I'm going to CalArts now.
Tony, it's biblical. You can curse and say it's called the ass kick.
But yeah, it was cool because Marty ended up paired me up with John Hench, just to kind of go in there and mentor with him. He goes, look, like, as we figure out what we're going to have you do, why don't you just go and like, hang out with John? And John's assistant was Walt's secretary. A longtime secretary he had. She was phenomenal. And when Walt passed him, John.
Wait. She was an artist, or
no,
she was assisting him as
an assistant. Yeah,
exactly.
As a secretary.
Okay.
Exactly. And when Walt passed him, John took her. So she had all these old stories. All the Walt like inside scoop stories from that perspective. But it was I literally would hang out in John's office all day, and we would just. We'd talk about like ideas, and he was working on some concepts at the time for an expansion for Fantasyland for Disneyland. here. So then he asked if I wanted to help out with that. So we just would sketch. And then he'd open up his drawers and there's like color keys for like Peter Pan. And you're like, that's amazing. He's like, oh yeah.
How'd that get in there?
Here's a color script for Cinderella. And he's pulling out all these massive, like incredible drawings. And so
I gotta say, just for those that don't know, for the listener out there, John Hench is one of those immortal legends of Disney history.
Art director, production designer. Like
started in feature animation, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he work on Snow White?
Snow White.
He was
on Snow White. Him and Ken Anderson were both on that.
Oh, yeah. Went all the way back then, and then got snatched up by Walt to help on. He became one of the major designers on Disneyland.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen the original map of Disneyland, that's by him, right?
Yep.
John
and Sleeping Beauty was his idea, and as far as his style. And Ivan Earl, who I love, and he's phenomenal. He gets credit for that style, but it was actually John Hench. He was looking at all these Renaissance paintings, and he had the examples he was showing me, and how he had his actual paintings. He was the first artist on that project, way ahead of Ivan. Ivan was he was painting backgrounds on, I think, Fellini the Tramp at the time.
Wow.
And Walt wanted.
So Ivan Earl is a hack, is what you're saying.
It sounds like that's what John was implying. Yeah.
You could tell how those guys had they were all very protective, but it was interesting because he was talking about the whole process of how he saw that film. And Walt, he kind of knew he wanted to make one last kind of grand film. And he charged John to go to France. And John went to France for about 3 months. And he researched all these tapestries, Renaissance tapestries. He bought a bunch of stuff, brought them back for Walt. And it's it's the style of these really flat, one plane ideas. And then that was kind of, he was super inspired. He was just, he did tons of concepts and tons of drawings. And Ivan, came on and they started just jamming together. And they kind of worked out this really complex style. And it was supposed to be the celebration and the culmination of everything all these guys had learned. That was that film. And because Walt kind of talked to him saying that all these films are getting kind of expensive. I'm not sure if we can keep them going, but I want you guys to go out almost on top. And that was the thought on that film.
You're talking about Sleeping Beauty was going to be the nail in the coffin?
In a way. And I had never heard that story. And John was just so like, and by the way, you have to and so John wore ascots. He was like a Bond villain. He was the amazing guy, had a spin mustache, perfectly trimmed. He had ascots and just blazers on every day with gold buttons. And you just sit there with this guy, and he would tell you stories, and it was like the coolest grandfather ever.
Wow. And he's smoking, I assume.
He had quit smoking by that point, luckily, but he still had the ashtray on his desk, so you could tell he was nostalgic when him and Mark would get in there and have the cigarette holders.
He might go. Yeah, he might go back in a moment.
But so like
Marty Sklar.
It was interesting.
So you're hanging out with John Hench. You're hanging out with Marty Sklar. All these guys are big wigs in Imagineering.
Yes.
Those are the guys that were the founding members of starting Disneyland.
I bet everybody down the hall is like jealous. Who's this Devin kid?
There was a little bit of that, and I didn't. I was unaware of it at the time because I was so young. Because at that time I was actually 16, and I turned 17 that summer. So I was just a kid. I was like, I'm just hanging out with Grandpa Hench, and I didn't know anything about politics or what it meant. I didn't know you had to make appointments to see John. He was just like, oh, come in, and we just would hang out. But I learned so much about all the stuff I would do, in the almost first art directing from him, and I didn't know it at the time that was even a thing I was going to ever do. But he just talked about it so much, and how he approached movies and how he broke down films and how he thought about shots, and and you just got a sense those guys were filmmakers and they weren't just artists, and that's why those films have this the bigger big bold feeling, because all these guys thought as filmmakers, and they really poured everything into every movie. It was like a fight against just trying to make something so perfect, almost against all odds, and trying just to top themselves. And and it was also cool because those guys just, how they talked about each other was wild. It was a lot of ego, and you're hearing all these stories about all the 9/11 and how they viewed, because you're always curious about how this fits into there, and how the art directors and Anderson, and how those guys got in there, and it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah, because it was probably a lot of ego.
Yeah, Walt could kind of harness. He could literally he literally played them all.
Were they like? I mean, they must slip into it too. Like Marty comes in, he's talking to John, and they're cursing away.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Devin.
Oh yeah,
right?
no,
That kind of thing.
It was a lot. I mean, it was very much. It felt like an old school like peek about how the world was like, almost in a different time. It was a little group of peeps that were kind of doing their thing, and they were stuck in this little world, and it was kind of beautiful, you know. I mean, Marty was Walton's speechwriter, which was incredible. So he actually wrote all his speeches and all his forwards and all of
I didn't know that.
So like
Wow.
and so it was crazy because he was the voice of Walt Disney because Walt hated public speaking. So like, so Marty would actually write his speeches for him.
Wow.
You know,
Gosh.
and
That's
you know, like
awesome.
all the TV shows that were filmed, all those were all of Marty's scripts, and he actually wrote all the words just to sound kind of calm and familiar for Walt. So he would sound super kind of like Grandpa Walt. You know, so he was amazing too. Just talking to Marty, he had so many of the amazing stories and just insight of connecting with people and how to project things and. You know.
So after
Now-
a young 17-year-old Devin had this wonderful summer of love at Imagineering, how did you get to CalArts? Was it on their
Wait,
recommendation?
No.
And here's the other part. Why? Why'd you go to CalArts?
Well, so it was twofold. So CalArts happened. So my aunt was friends with Ken Anderson. My aunt and my uncle. My uncle, I used to fish.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, so they used to fish with Ken. And
good.
And so when I was probably like 9 or 10. Ken was very sick, and my aunt was talking about this guy I should talk to who they knew. And I was like, okay, who? And she goes, Ken Anderson, you know who he is? I'm like, he's in every book I had at home. I was like, oh, I'm like, you guys know him? Like, how you been holding this from me, you know? So they kind of arranged for a phone call, you know, and I talked, and I think it was literally, he probably passed away, I think, the following 6 months, and he was really sick, but he kind of talked to me about CalArts, and he goes, look, that you should go there, that this is the art school for animation, you know, and he had a present for me. I was like, what's this present? And, I had this long talk. It was, really just the kindest guy on the phone, like real gentle spirit, and like really encouraging. And then my aunt, I saw her probably about 3 months after, and she handed me like, my little box. And in this box had a sketchbook of Ken's, and it was on Ken's sketchbook. It was one of his trips to India he had taken.
No. Original Ken Anderson sketchbook.
Yeah, and it was a whole sketch from India. It was all the travels he had done at the Reach Strip for Jungle Book, and it was these big drawings. They were gorgeous, some in watercolor and tons of ink. And I mean, I literally
Devin, you're touched.
I wanted to cry.
You're touched by God. How is this possible?
So wait,
we're only up to like age 20 by this point, and
I know.
No,
he's not even 20.
10.
He's not 20.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, sorry. I was into this crossword. What's a 12-letter word for, money storage drawing surface?
Money storage drawing. I've never heard of such a thing. Does a thing like that exist? I'm going to say.
Wait a second. 12 letters.
Yeah.
Sketch wallet. That would work.
Sketch wallet, of course.
Oh my gosh. So we know this guy, Ralph Thomas, and he creates this sketch wallet, invented it even. And if you go to Sketch, he's an inventor. And
an artist. And an artist.
Still talking.
And
if you go to sketchwallet.com, you can find all the sketch wallets that he makes. He has them in canvas. He has them in leather, all time, even tweed. The tweed one is amazing.
Who doesn't want tweed?
And it goes with your bow tie that you're wearing right now.
It's tweed.
And so what that is just like it sounds. It's a little mini sketch wallet that tucks into these amazingly designed wallets. So you can have room for credit cards and all those things. It's the $3 animator should have. And a little stubby pencil is built in there. So you can draw wherever you are on the go. This is a great gift for anybody that knows an artist, or if they are an artist themselves. Go online to sketchwallet.com and find the sketch wallet that's perfect for you so you can draw on the go.
Now back to the show.
So wait, at age 10, you owned that sketchbook?
I kept that thing treasured. That was literally like, I would look at that probably at least 9 times a day.
Until 5 years ago when he sold it.
Exactly. No, heck no.
You bought a house.
No, that book is going in the coffin one day,
Never become an
can't-
alcoholic because you will sell.
I know. That's good advice.
Or a gambler. Yeah. Don't get
Yeah.
into
No,
gambling,
or
'cause that
gambling.
will go.
It was a crazy
Any kind of addiction.
It was crazy because I used to practice trying to draw his sketches as a kid. And like he had such a simplicity in his line that it just tripped me up. I'm like, how is he doing this? How he drew architecture and, you know, everything was just so like just gorgeous and effortless. And I'm like, this is insane, you know?
Well,
So-
here's the thing. You're looking at his drawing, copying his drawing. He's
Right.
looking at the real
Exactly.
thing. That's
Exactly.
even harder,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And it's a
Yeah.
sketchbook from probably when he's 70 too. So he's also like, you know, he's a master at that point. I'm like 9 going like, this is really hard. You know?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But
That is
it works.
amazing.
I mean,
Yes.
All right. So
Wow.
you're inspired by Ken Anderson. You're working at Imagineering as a teenager, having a summer internship in the Ryman program. You go to CalArts. Of course, you get in.
Yes.
Right.
I was very lucky.
Very lucky.
Corny Cole helped
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot
sure.
actually because Corny, I mean, he used to have me up for. He had a Sunday life drawing class, and so my last year of high school, my dad would drive me up there, you know, almost every
Oh.
Sunday. So I would do all the figure drawing, so that was the portfolio I was building for CalArts.
was that at CalArts?
It was at CalArts actually, which was super cool because we were like, you know, I was super young, just walking around. You're like, I'm gonna go here one day. This is so exciting. I hope I get in. And you're sitting there in almost in this classroom setting. But because
And,
of the
are these,
Ryman
and
program,
these are naked ladies.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
assuming.
yeah, the Ryman
Okay.
program
At
actually
10.
had figure drawing classes. So it
Okay.
kind of helped.
Oh, so
it helped
by this
me.
time, yeah. By age 15,
Yeah,
you're used to
you
seeing
were
naked
you were
ladies
used to it.
and
You were used to it.
men. Sure.
Yeah, Corny
that's
always had a
no
lot
big
of guys and a lot of, you know, he loved character, so it was always like old women and real, they're almost
Not
elaborate
a-
costumes.
not attractive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that usually goes with figure
Hey,
drawing.
that grows you. That grows you as an artist, though.
No,
It
it was
does.
cool though because it actually made you push too. Because he really pushed like, you know, characterizing stuff and getting personality. He didn't want to just have us do pretty drawings. So everybody had like scraggly hair or just really like unique features, which made it fun. You know.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Real quick, Tony and I, Corny Cole was one of the very first people we met in the animation industry. He helped us
Yeah.
get into it. We
We
used to
weren't
go.
10 though. We were like 41.
Yeah. No, this was 5 years ago. But, but no, we were teenagers. Well, just out of high school, and so we were kind of commuting all the way up to. He was working at Marvel Comics,
And Van
Marvel
Nuys, yeah.
Animation. Sorry, at that time, and when they were making like Muppet Babies and those kind of shows.
He was such a sweetheart.
Oh,
Su-
just
super
always
guy.
giving, like doing free classes like that.
Oh, yeah. And he had a secret
all the
drawer. I don't
time.
know if you ever knew this, but he had a secret drawer from a Searle drawing. Did you ever know that in his office?
No, he didn't show us that. Probably a
so
good thing too.
Him and Ron were actually super good friends, and he had this drawer he'd open up and like, oh, I got all these. He's thumbing through, and he's like, all these original Ron Searle drawings. And you're like, are those? He's like, yeah, you do. Sit there and flip through when we were in school.
Yeah, you want one?
He never said
Yeah,
that, oddly enough.
he didn't
that
do
that
that?
never came
Okay.
out of his mouth. No, we were always
Good.
open. We're like, oh, and I'm sure, weirdly enough, had one of us asked, we weren't thinking. He probably would have been like, oh, sure, here you go.
So I wish he would have been our teacher at CalArts. He came in later. We were there a little bit earlier
Okay.
than you. He
Yeah.
came in later. So our teacher, Bob Winquist,
Yeah.
his big claim to fame is that he had Marilyn Monroe's panties up on his
Oh,
wall.
crazy.
That actually had
In a little frame. Yeah.
a little frame, and
as
and
one does. Yeah.
They had her like little kiss marks. You know, she put
She'd-
lipstick on and
she'd
she kissed the
Crazy.
panties.
Kissed her underwear. It's kind of odd when you
It's
look
very
back.
weird.
That
to
is
think
kind
that
of crazy.
now.
Yeah.
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 But I guess
So-
that's what you do.
So no art, inspiration from our teachers like Ronald Searle drawings brought out,
No.
but he did bring out Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn
panties.
Monroe's panties. Yeah. It was really weird.
CalArts.
Crazy times. Crazy.
There's always
It
a
was fun.
story.
That was a fun school. It was fun. It was a fun time.
Did you ever go? Okay, we're gonna get off of this, but did you ever go into the swimming pool?
You know what's crazy? So I actually don't swim. So but
Okay.
the time we got there, because my dorm room that freshman year actually faced the pool, and you
Oh.
Yeah, oh,
and you would
nice.
and
That's a
you would-
show.
and there was too much happening there. We're like, I'm good. I'm not getting in that thing.
keeping those curtains, keep those curtains closed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, my parents
yeah.
saw
yeah.
they saw too much when they were dropping me off that freshman year. They were like,
Yeah.
Oh,
"Ooh."
same with our mom. Same with our mom.
They're
She's
going,
like,
our little Devin.
Yeah. Are you gonna
He's
be
gonna
okay?
grow
I'm
up.
like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
That's the funny thing, because like the parents go on the tour of CalArts
Yeah.
with the kids and all that. And this was like, well, we're going to say it was the 80s for us. And you see, you see basically they used to call it Disneyland. The fine artists would call the animation area of Disneyland because it was a little bit cleaner, and it was just, we were all like, yay, pixie dust and all that. But they don't show you the dorms and all that. Like,
get over there,
not until you like get accepted, and then you're actually there and you're dropping off your kids and you're like bringing your boxes up to their dorm room. Then you really get like, oh wait, this is what we just paid for.
I know. And parents are just like,
see people like smoking marijuana in the lobby, hanging out waiting for their friends.
Naked people walking down
naked
the
in
hallway.
the pool.
Girls that are topless walking around. Even the teachers and instructors. It's disgusting.
It's a wild place. I'm sure it's calmed down by now. I'm sure it's calmed.
I would imagine.
I think that was just when we were there. Sure.
We got the last wave of the 90s.
Still around. Yeah. Okay, so we got to fast forward because we got to talk about Space Jam. We've already talked about how you've been multiple times an art director, Smallfoot, and you've been an animator. You've done 2D animation and CG animation, correct?
Yes.
I just can't.
CG animation I actually haven't done, but I've supervised tons of CG films. I had a lot of background with modeling and rigging, the kind of working to get the stuff ready for animation. So
that kind of character design, mostly known for, right?
Yeah,
lot storyboards on Panda, and storyboards on Shrek 2, and
Dang.
Yeah, then
I just. How much do you charge? No. Anyway. So now here we. Okay, but speaking of that, they gave you 2 titles. Did you get paid twice? Animation director. I mean, like, sounds like they made a deal.
We worked out a good deal. They got it. Everything worked out well. It all worked out.
Okay, good.
It all worked out. You know what? They needed him. So, they paid for him. Don't you worry, Tom.
The producers were really awesome. No, it was a. It was a great experience, and everybody on there was really supportive when that happened. And that early on, like I said, I was in tons of meetings, and I was kind of like almost a bridge for the WAG side to the live action side. So then, as that kind of grew more, I was like, well, I just kind of kept talking to them about stuff, and then they were like, well, they kind of promoted me.
Yeah,
and it was unofficial.
And we'll get to that, but because I have my own perspective about that, of seeing it from the outside, what was happening and stuff. But yeah, Devin had early on, you just had a connection to the live action side that was really running things.
Yeah.
WAG was kind of the hired help, if you will, that was doing the 2D animation and in charge of that. But Devin had this inside track because he had already made a really good relationship with Malcolm Lee.
Exactly.
Malcolm Lee is the
producer,
and Ryan Coogler, and you were working with all the guys that were really the decision makers. And Spike Brandt, who is a genius and a wonderful talent, and we want to have him on the show real soon. He was in charge of the animation early on to help because he had done that so many times, and he is the consummate.
He knows those
Looney Tunes guy.
Yeah.
So and Warner Brothers knows that when they need somebody that's like a Looney Tunes character aficionado, of course there's 2 guys. There's Spike Brandt and there's Tony Cervoni. You're going to call one of those guys because they have the most experience with those Looney Tunes characters. So it made sense. They had a top gun with Spike. But Devin, largely had this inside track to the thinking of the directors and producers that were in charge and running the show and really creating the story. So that was huge. But how did that start? So take us back to how did you get involved with Space Jam 2? How did you get involved? We call it Space Jam 2. It's Space Jam, a new legacy, but we may shorten it to Space Jam 2. And what was the influence of the first movie on you? And then how did you get involved with the second?
Well, the first one was huge. When it came out, I was just finishing. I think I was a freshman in CalArts actually. So all of us, we saw it, of course, and it was just awesome. Just it was like a hybrid film again, with the kind of happening to see 2D happening on screen, And and then as far as my involvement with the second one, so after I finished art directing on Smallfoot, I did a few pitch pieces for Space Jam, for their big pitch, and I did maybe 2 or 3 large paintings for that, and then the film was greenlit, and then they kind of asked me production design on it, and I was very interested in that because obviously it was a hybrid. So I was, I love challenging films, and it was something new to kind of mix this 2D and a live action, and to figure out almost new ways of doing it, to figure out new ways of the characters being almost presented. So I was on it like really from the beginning, so just started doing like tons of like big kind of a blue sky concept pieces. The script was still very fluid then, so I was helping out, just kind of cementing ideas, and I was offering up ideas, and it was super collaborative with them, and all the live action guys were really great with that. You could just kind of show them like a painting, then they would write into a script, and that would become a whole sequence, and they were like,
wow.
In animation, that doesn't always happen, So
right.
They were very inspired by just like almost seeing like all this art being made, and I was the lone artist on it almost for a while, and then the art team kind of grew a little bit. But like I said, then I would kind of like, I would be in just tons of other meetings talking about like all the VFX stuff with them, and we were workshopping problems and that, and kind of speaking up in those meetings, and kind of sharing experience that I had on previous, CG films, and just kind of talking to them. And it was, we just all just collaborated, just got along so well that, that the role just kind of grew and grew and grew, that I was more and more involved into the other side of directing, on the film. And Ryan Coogler kind of talked to me. It was around, I think, October of 19. That was when they kind of, they asked me to kind of step up into that role. And it was.
And is that when Ryan Coogler could own the world because he just did Black Panther?
Yes.
Okay, so anything he said, and he was going to happen.
And he was amazing. It was crazy because, we had a lot of meetings together, and it was very clear, like even from the first meeting, like, hey, how smart that guy is. There's a huge reason why he's successful. I mean, he is a consummate just filmmaker and understands so much. But the thing I loved about him is that he wanted to understand about animation. He asked so many questions. He asked for book references to get the illusion of life, like what it was, and he wanted to know like what we were doing. So that, and I love that about people, because like, here's a guy, he's a big shot, super talented guy, and he's in the trench with us, asking about our process and wanting to understand how a 2D film is made and why we're doing this, and how does that then translate into this, and how does.
That's so smart.
Yeah, because we've all seen this on different, animation and live action combo films, is that sometimes you come across the directors, producers that are so entrenched in live action. And
there was no ego.
Was there
that was a crazy thing with those guys. There was zero ego.
Right. And they can look down. I mean, I remember this on Stuart Little too, when I was the animation supervisor on that film for Sony. But it was all driven by live action people. And, when it came to the animation, you guys are post-production. You're like a service house that does this. And it's like, it's called Stuart Little.
Stuart's kind of important.
Can we get a little respect?
Yeah.
It's
about the mouse.
He's kind of the main character. So and he's an animated mouse. So let's, and this was the same thing. I mean, Space Jam, obviously it's not just about the main basketball player, which ultimately for the second one, they got LeBron James, as you all know, being the main guy here, and he does a great job in it.
He really does.
We can talk about him later.
Yeah, he's great.
But then, it's the Looney Tunes. The Looney Tunes have to be, treated a certain way.
Yeah.
You've got to have respect for them. So if you're writing a story, doing a script, and it involves these characters, you got to know what you're talking about. So I love hearing that they were willing to dig in deep, but also talk to you as an authority. How did that feel for you, Devin? All of a sudden, you got a seat at the table. And they're really looking to you to be the go-to guy for everything cartoon.
I was excited. But I mean, it was very exciting.
Was that exciting?
It just felt like we were making something special. And the thing I kept telling them, I wanted for this to be our Sleeping Beauty. And the instant got the reference. Like I kind of brought it wild to, because I felt like there was a chance just to pour all the love and money into every frame and get these. The ink lines, just, all the characters had tons of ink lines, the background super lush, just making sure that this felt like the best the Looney Tunes had ever looked, really celebrating all of Chuck and Maurice and just distilling that stuff down into something like almost like those guys had a ton of time and money to do a short, what would it look like? That was our goal, which was a high goal to have. But those guys loved that, because it was like they gave us something.
Which, by the way,
push for.
I mean, Spoiler alert, I think you pulled it off.
Oh,
It
thank you,
looks
Tom.
amazing,
Thank
honestly.
you. We had a
And
phenomenal crew.
I
We had
saw
one-
that love throughout the production. For
Yeah,
sure.
no, I mean, we were lucky with just one of the best and most incredible crews from from animators to cleanup to background painters to
Yeah.
I mean, the color stylists. I mean, we pulled everyone that we could. All you guys hopped on, which was amazing.
It was like a dream team.
John
for sure.
Pomeroy, doing incredible stuff.
John Pomeroy. You
Yeah.
have Dan Haskett. Come
Yeah,
on.
Dan. Yeah.
Haskett is the original
Yeah.
Looney Tunes kind of guy. Been with
Yeah.
Warner Brothers for years.
Yeah.
Knew how to draw those
Joe
characters.
Hadar.
Matt
Yep.
Wilmies.
Sean
Ruben
Keller.
Procopio.
Ruben
Exactly.
Procopio.
Tracy Lee
And
was the
Sean
head of
Keller
cleanup.
doing crazy, beautiful
Yep.
stuff.
Sean Keller. Yep.
I mean, it literally was a privilege, because all the dailies you just saw like beautiful stuff come through, and it just made you feel so excited and pumped up. You're like, man, this film's incredible. As hard as it was, you're just seeing all this, everyone just putting 100% into everything. You're like, oh, we got something.
I love it. And I want to go back to something I said earlier, which is the threesome of us, our parts. And this is going to be more for Tony. So it gives him a little pat on the back. He likes that.
Thank you.
So
Finally.
Devin, obviously, number one guy on Space Jam, right? Artistically, at least. Okay. Space Jam, A New Legacy, was on it for about 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Tony and I probably came in about 2 years in. So
yeah.
the last year.
All the live action was shot. The story.
By the way,
well worked out.
I think I got contacted, and I'm sure you did too, Tony. So about a year before I actually started.
Yes.
So probably in 2019 is when I actually got, like beginning of 2019, when I got contacted by Warner Brothers, like, hey, it's coming,
Right.
Yeah.
And literally they were like, it's going to be about 3 months. It was a year later.
It was another year before it started.
That we actually started. So it was very behind. And so then Tony and I came on, and we were both doing, what do we call that again?
On the post-viz.
Post-viz.
Yeah. Post-viz, which was adding the characters into the live action that had already been shot. So drawing them into the scenes. And that was when I first, and this is going to be my little quick throw out just to LeBron James. That was when I first saw some of the clips and going, wow, he can act.
He did a
really
charming
nice,
in the film.
very impressive.
Right.
Yeah. His reactions to the non-existent animated characters, that's not an easy thing to do. He was pulling it off from the get-go. It was very impressive. So just to say, then I was going to stay on with animation into 2020, and that extended even longer. And I waited probably 4 or 6 months for that to happen. It didn't happen. I got onto other gigs, and so I couldn't stay on. Tony did stay on to animation, so he did animate on the film. I did not. So Tony, you were on out of this crowd second.
So you did
most amount.
So just to be clear, you did no animation in the film.
I did a test scene. I don't think it was used, but yes.
No. I think it was during the gameplay, and they ultimately made that CG. So yeah.
Right.
And in the beginning, that was a big, and this is really for you, Devin, is like, there was a lot of conversation about, I remember when I first came on, and I was on it, like Tom said, I was on it for a year doing the animation. So the core 2D animation took up about a year, maybe a little over, although we had a really late start. So there was a lot of like ramping up time that we had as an animation group.
You had a lot
in some
ways
it was
sit
great.
Around time too.
It was a little bit.
You guys were lucky. That's a beautiful thing to have sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to be able to really explore the characters, and we spent a lot of time to your point too about the trying to make this the Sleeping Beauty of all the Looney Tunes cartoons. If people go see this movie and say these characters are drawn so well, they've never been so on model, it's literally because we had so much time to get up to speed. I've never drawn the Looney Tune characters, so this was a bucket list. I loved it. It was a bucket list kind of project for me. I always, as a kid, I grew up with Chuck Jones. I grew up with the Looney Tunes characters, even more so than Disney, which I spent a lot of time at, obviously. But I always wanted to work on a Looney Tunes cartoon of some kind.
Me too.
And this was it. And I'm so thrilled with the outcome of it all. And it was hard. And there was lots of ups and downs that goes with the journey of making a film, though. It's like raising a kid.
Right.
You're gonna have those awkward teenage years and stuff, and they get into spray paint a little bit too much, and you got to course correct with them, helping them out. Anyway, that's the parent way of thinking about it. But to you, Devin, so you started out as obviously production designer, but I also remember you in story meetings. You were involved in a lot of things. One of the main things that I remember you doing when I first came on was it was put to you to come up with any new character designs, particularly LeBron James.
Yes. Him as a tune. Yep, I did that.
Yeah, and we can say this now that LeBron James, he's in the trailer. There's a 2D version of LeBron James that plays a big part.
He looks great. He looks
in
so
the movie.
Good.
Really cool design.
Animated, just a ton of beautiful stuff on him.
Yeah.
Sandro Cluzo, we almost forgot about him. Of course, he did a great job.
Oh my gosh.
But I remember you going, that was a journey just to get that approval. Because if it ain't held back scenes, I remember in the production flow for a little while.
Well,
Tell us
and
a
I
little
wasn't
bit
a
about
part
that.
of it at that time. So was that LeBron James with him having to approve that?
He was actually easy as far as working with him. It was just trying to get something which captured his essence, which was animatable, that felt like a caricature. But then we also wanted it to fit that kind of 40s, the like WB sensibility. So actually being able to like get all his likeness, his proportions, but then tunify him in a style almost as if it would work with, like a Chuck Jones type of short. And then get that through all the channels and all the stamps along the way. He was great, and the only thing he was specific about was his beard, because beard's really manicured, and he has it's super precise. He's kind of getting, which actually was cool because it's really graphic. So it inspired us to kind of push that into a real graphic place and get that real kind of fun. But it was a lot of evolution in the sense of trying to get something that was faithful, but then also something which you could actually animate, that wasn't just like a stiff caricature, you know. So that was the hardest part. So I think we just kept trying variations and like trying to just search and kind of get there. And I think we ended up with something that I think is really fun.
You got there, for sure.
He fits right in with the Looney Tunes characters. That's the amazing thing to me is that, and I remember Joe Hadar doing some early tests with LeBron, but also Sandro did one of the first color tests with LeBron. And really playing with the pliability of his face, the squash and stretch. Oh, classic stuff. And
because he was hard to draw, and it was a hard character. And I remember in standard we did, a guide for the animators. Basically, we just did a ton of drawings, every different angle, different expressions, all the trying to find the most complicated angles to draw them in, so that there'd be a guide for everyone for anything, if possible. But now,
well, Tom, you don't know this, but Devin actually gave a chalk talk to all the animators on how to draw and animate LeBron James. And I remember doing this Zoom call. This is all during COVID. Most of this film was all produced during COVID, particularly all the animation
for sure.
Every bit of it, really.
Yeah.
I think we had I'll just say this for history. We were probably on it in person for like 2 months before COVID broke out, the animation team. And so right as cleanup team was coming on, boom, we're going home, and everything was done from home by then on. But I remember you doing a Zoom meeting with all the animators. And I remember particularly, you had done a lot of study on how he moves. Yeah. We weren't doing basketball gameplay as much as the CG guys were going to do. So, but we still had to know how he kind of moved and how he walked. And I remember you talking about he has kind of a bit of a duck walk with his feet and stuff.
Well, because a lot of the animators who were coming on were kind of doing kind of experiments with him, and everybody was approaching him almost like a superhero. And the one thing with LeBron, when you see him in person, he's very lean. He's very tall. I think his waist is like a 32.
Oh.
And he's 6'8", so it's why he can wear.
I was a 32 once.
Yeah.
So like when it affects how he moves. So it's really kind of thinking, just imparting that on the animators to kind of know, like he moves like a thin guy. He moves like a guy that's not super heavy. Even though he's tall, he's super quick and he can move really fast. So I think that helped the animation and all those kind
Yeah.
of quick moves and getting him into stuff that was kind of fun and zippy, kind of freed the animator.
I remember we had some clips
Yes,
too.
yeah,
As part of our
yeah.
research, we had like a folder for research, and there was a bunch of gameplay stuff with him and some interviews with him, so we could see how he kind of moved and how he acted
Yeah.
a little bit, off
And his
screen,
posture
or
is
out
impeccable
of
too. And I
game.
remember that a couple of animators kind of drawn him really hunched over. I'm like, no, he's very upright. It's very just straight, like it's just beautiful posture.
Show that
I
neck.
got terrible posture,
Yeah.
but he's got like really like elegant posture.
Yeah,
he
I
does.
was like, don't follow me, follow him.
Yeah. He doesn't have to hunch over a table.
No,
Like
no.
we do.
His mom raised him right. I mean, just like our mom used to tell us that as two tall guys, keep your head up.
stand
Make
up
sure
straight.
that,
She was always big on that.
stand up straight.
Right.
Be
Yeah,
proud
yeah.
of the fact that you're tall, and because I think a lot of tall people are
They
like,
kind of do the hunch
they
thing.
try and-
Yeah.
you try and fit in. You try and fit
Right.
into the rest of the world. So you kind of hunch a little bit.
And you get tired of hitting your head on things. Which,
That's for sure. That's for dang sure.
so Tony, I want to throw out. I just saw on Instagram the other day a really rough version of LeBron, a little rough animation that Matt Willemy's posted.
Matt's
Another
amazing.
name we hadn't mentioned, so I had to
Matt
throw it out
Willemy's.
there.
Yeah,
Really nice
he
stuff.
did some beautiful
So-
stuff on the film.
Yeah, he did. He worked on the first Space Jam too. So
He did.
So
He
did
did.
Haskett, Dan Haskett.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys on our team that had worked on the first one too, and to me, that's just incredible that we
I
could,
know.
we
No,
could have
it's
somebody.
always cool.
Like I've never heard of anybody that's worked on a first movie and a second movie. And not that there's a ton in animation anyway, but like the first Rescuers, second Rescuers,
Right.
There was
That would have been amazing.
there was no bleed over there.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about it. It did get into trouble. It got done, and it looks great. That's the spoiler alert. How it's going to end up, but it got into trouble. It was very late, and so we had to. A lot of the animation had to go out to other animation houses. And how was that? How was keeping control over that?
Well, working with the vendors was actually kind of fun, and I think just because of of the COVID situation, we already were working with all our artists. We're already scattered, so the vendors scattered. It wasn't that much harder because half the animators were friends of ours and people that were in other countries, but it was friends still. And I think the challenge really was just getting everyone that almost immersed in the style and the world quickly, and then kind of running with their scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
because they come on. That's always the hard part.
Yeah,
They're
it's that
coming
ramp
on
up.
late,
Yeah.
and they don't get the ramp up that Tony had, where he was just like smoking cigars and kicking his feet up for
Going
like
to the
months at a
beach
time,
and,
and going, I did my one Bugs drawing today. I think I'm getting it. I'll get there in a couple months. Yeah. So they didn't
did a
have
good
that.
job, though.
Yeah, they
Everybody-
have to come on and be
everybody just came on
more
with passion
talented
and thunder.
than Tony. Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
what helped was it was because it was almost virtual. We had CineSync and we would do drawovers. Me and Spike would do drawovers. On the screen, and the reviews, they could instantly see what we were meaning things. We could instantly like change the expression or be like, how about a little bit more of this? So I think for them having that, I think it helped. You could toggle the scene, the backward and forwards, and just improve things or add suggestions.
Yeah. And I got to throw that out. Even at the story sketch, the early on phase, I mean, I couldn't believe how much Spike was throwing in there drawing wise. He was going over almost every single drawing, and I'm like, this isn't even going to make it to the final.
Right.
These are just the kind of the poses of where those characters are going to be and how tall they are and some expression, but in general, that's going to all get redone. So why do we, but he really wanted that to be on model. It really set things up for because many of those people turned out to be the animators too. They would go on to become the animators. And so they had great training because they already had all these Spike Grant drawings.
Yeah, I mean, and it was like a library of wonderful drawings, though, because, like I said, nobody can. This is for you, Tom, by the way. But nobody could really draw those characters that Spike in the same way that Spike could do it. So it was kind of amazing to get your hand on LeBron James drawovers, get his hands on the Looney Tunes characters, which he knew them all by heart. He could draw them in his sleep. That was so otherworldly for the animation team. And then there was a lot of trust. I got to say, both you guys, you and Spike working together, a lot of trust in the animation group, especially the Burbank team. of just letting us go and have fun with the scenes. And a ton of great things to animate too. That's what you want as an animator. There was so many great story moments.
Meaty stuff.
Yeah. Great dialogue.
But all that time with it getting pushed off and being delayed, what the benefit that came from that was killer model sheets and some time to really design these characters.
Yeah.
Because I remember that even at the story sketch phase it was amazing. Spike had redone almost all the Warner Brothers main characters model sheets, and they were just perfect. They're like the classic version of these characters.
And I got to say, for the listener out there, we talk all the time about animation, but because Tom and I are 2D animators, but there's so much credit and things you could say about the layout artists, what they did for the film.
The cleanup team was phenomenal. Effects was phenomenal.
Yes. I mean, you're right that when you said earlier that it was like
it was an all-star team.
It was like having the Lakers of animation working on this film, right?
All of our vendors. I mean, everyone was just killing it.
The vendors did a great job.
Gorgeous stuff, I mean, from top to bottom, everyone, you just could feel like there was this fire just to make something great.
Yeah, and I love that passion. I think that was what was so. I remember emailing with you or through Facebook, something, texting early on when you were on the show, and I think I said, "Hey, congratulations!" And I think it was right when I was being talked to a year before I even started. And you were like totally excited. Your excitement for this film never waned a day, and I think the listener gets a sense of your positivity from this podcast. But that's one of the things that I think, Devin, having you in a place of leadership on this film and your drive for such high quality standards that was there from day one, it was a game changer. I mean,
thank you.
I don't want to make it sound like a basketball game, but it was a game changer, and you dunked it and scored.
Thank you very much.
Touchdown.
We were lucky, because and it felt like almost, because of COVID, like everybody just had something they could focus on really hard and intently on this film. And it gave everyone like a place to put all this fear and stress of the outside world. And it just funneled into the film in a beautiful way. And you felt like everybody was just laser focused, like make this thing incredible, make this the best thing we can do,
Yeah.
And
this is coming out at the perfect time too.
I think so too.
And so as you listen to this podcast, hopefully you'll listen to it first and then go see the movie, or vice versa. Go see the movie and then listen to the podcast. You'll dig in deep into it.
This podcast should be dropping the day of release.
July 16th.
That's exciting. Almost my birthday.
Oh,
what? Almost ours
birthday.
Too. Okay.
When's yours? I'm the 19th.
31st.
Oh, crazy.
That's awesome. Happy birthday to all of us and Space Jam on top of it.
Exactly.
We're going to have to start
to just a kid.
Wrap up a little bit, but I do want to say to the listeners, yes, please go check out Space Jam. We say this, we've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you are a lover of 2D animation or even CG animation, let's face it, animation in general.
And the CG spectacular in this movie too, I think.
But I want people to go out and support this film.
Yeah,
it's because we support films that we were able to keep making them. So we need the audience to go out and support Space Jam.
Absolutely. Please do.
You're going to be happy you do.
It's a great movie too. It's a really great movie.
Yeah. We shouldn't be twisting your arm whatsoever, but we
got to be clear where they can see it. HBO Max. Right?
Yeah. And then all theaters.
And the theater release, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Same day. I want to see it in
it's worldwide release. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I say, it's a great time for it to be coming out. I feel like we're all being vaccinated, coming out of COVID. It's an exciting time to get back into the theater, and this is going to be perfect timing. As we sit here right now, there's already some big movies that have come out and done really well. So it bodes well for Space Jam. I think it's going to do really well theatrically.
I think so too.
See it on the big screen before you see it on the small screen.
And you can see in the trailers, there's a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail. There's so much stuff to see.
Are you gonna drop one of the Easter eggs? That we
Give us
come on.
Oh, come on now, you'll get me in trouble.
This comes out the day the movie starts. So
I will say to all the CalArts friends up there that they're the reference to CalArts in the movie. So
There is.
Oh,
I don't even know if I know this. Is it an
There is.
A113
There
reference?
might
It's
be.
gotta
There might be. There might be.
A113. You heard it here first.
There might be.
Okay, let's look for
Looking
it.
for that. Can't wait.
Okay,
Yeah,
listeners,
no,
please let us know if you find that. And maybe you can comment on the podcast on our Patreon page if you find the A1113 reference.
But that was a
That'd be
fun
cool.
thing, I think, with all the Easter eggs of getting to merge all these worlds and franchises together in one film, with Iron Giant being in there, which is in the trailer,
Yeah.
so it's not a spoiler. But
Yeah,
having
Iron
that
Giant.
as my first film I ever got to work on, and then
Yeah.
to have the Iron
Full
Giant
circle.
and a film that I'm on now was crazy. And I was like, like 20 years later, like he's back.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, Devin, full circle. Don't die, but you could.
You literally
I know.
could
No,
at
honestly,
because you've done it all.
Right. Please don't.
No, I'm super excited to see what happens next for Devin. Can you give us a little nod to what might be next or what you're going on to?
Directing's the plan for sure.
Okay.
Can't say what
Nice.
yet, but
Maybe
Black Panther 2.
for sure.
Can you say if you're staying with Warner Brothers? Can't say. Don't say. Don't say.
I bet he's going to get into live action. I said it.
I
I
first.
hope at some point. I
think you're
I
going
would love to at some point too.
Now you got all these
Animation's in my
live-action
blood, I gotta
friends.
see
You got a
it.
lot of live
I
action
got
friends
animation
now.
in me.
Yeah.
I do, but I got animation in my heart and it's in
Devin,
my blood too, so I got to do both.
take the
I gotta do
Bancroft
both.
Yeah,
brothers
you do.
with you. That's all I got to say. Okay.
I'm taking you both. I'm taking you both, man.
Please.
I'll take
That
you
is
from Muscle,
exactly.
sure.
I think all of our listeners that have listened for a long time probably think that's why they do the podcast. They're always hitting up people
We ask for jobs. every single one. Yeah. Hey, Devin, this has been amazing.
Oh,
So
thank
great
you
to get
both
to
so
know
much
you
for
better
having
and
me.
dig deep. Man, the things that we heard on this podcast, it's really become one of my favorite ones already.
Yeah,
honestly.
Well, thank you.
Love the film. Love you, Devin. Love working with
I
you,
love
buddy.
you
We'll do
guys
it
so
again.
much. Absolutely.
Tony, I'm going to
Please.
start this. As we always say, animate
Animate
from the heart.